everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Atheist Apostate. Your host here, the AA. And we are coming back with episode number 2, the second episode of True Mormon History. So before we start off, I just want to start by saying this video, like the other one, is not intended to attack members. This is not against the members of the church, nor am I against the members of the church. I am out here only for one reason and one reason only: transparency. So every video I do, all the information that I provide is so members of the church and investigators of the church can know the true, transparent history. So I'm presenting the LDS side with Mormon Fair and past leaders of the church, and with former Mormon scholars and historians and proponents of the church. This video here, I'm going to be using former member and historian scholar Dan Vogel, so as one of my sources mainly, and my other source I'm going to be using here is once again LDS Fair, which is the apologetic branch of the LDS Church. So they are paid by the church. That is their organization to speak on their behalf for apologetics. So we are going to be focusing on the trial of Joseph Smith today. So last time we focused on the first vision. We are going to be going in order, starting from the first vision all the way up to current modern day history. The next after the first vision, as we move on, is going to be the trial of Joseph Smith. We're going to be starting with some background history before we get into the trial to set up why the trial happened, why claims have been made against Smith, and why those claims were made. And for you who are LDS or investigators, it will also explain why certain slanderous or defamation, demeaning terms like treasure hunter or seer or peeper is used. They weren't bad terms. I'm having a hard time today. No, it's not the weed. Been a long day at work. So let's get into this. So let's jump in here. All right.
On the 20th of March, 1826, in the small rural town of South Bainbridge, New York, Justice of the Peace Albert Neely presided over the case of People of the State of New York versus Joseph Smith, whom Neely dubbed the Glass Looker.
Okay, we're going to stop really quick right here. This isn't anything derogatory against Joseph Smith whatsoever. The glass lookers were common. Seers were common. This was nothing new. So nothing new. Right here, we have Joseph Smith's name written down. So we have the reason why, and we have the date, March 20th, 1826.
While there has been much debate about the verdict of Joseph Smith's first trial, the content of the testimony given by Smith and 5 witnesses has been largely overlooked, although it has serious implications for Smith's later claims.
Yes, it does. It sure does have later implications for Smith's later claims. Not only his later claims, but his previous claims. These events are taking place after Joseph Smith has already had the first vision. These events here are already taking place after Joseph Smith has seen a vision from Moroni telling him about the plates, gold plates for the Book of Mormon. So this is an event that happened after Joseph Smith had his vision from Moroni. Just keep that in mind here. Keep that in mind. So as we get in here, we're going to set up everyone who is involved in this. You're going to learn a little about the characters here that are involved. So Stoll here was an employer, friend, and member.
On several occasions, the prophet Joseph Smith stayed in the home of Josiah Stoll, located near the Susquehanna River, just southwest of the village of South Bainbridge.
So the church does not deny that Joseph went down and stayed with the Stoll family. So they are openly admitting that. They have no problem with that whatsoever. So neither do I.
While here, Joseph discussed his spiritual experiences, Josiah's Spanish silver mine project,
Okay, we're going to stop here again. I'm sorry for the stops, but there's points for this. So, we're told by their apologists, that's the Mormon Apologetic group, that Joseph Smith related his spiritual experiences outside of looking for the Spanish gold in the supposed gold mines. Yes. So that experience, like I just told you, one of them was his experience getting visited by the angel Moroni. So that happened before this event. So that's one of the experiences that he talks about. And the church does not deny, as you heard, that they are looking for gold mines.
It appears around 1825 that Josiah Stoll had some interest in kind of a get-rich-quick scheme.
Oh, the church isn't denying this. A get-rich-quick money-making scheme. The church is not denying this fact. Do you guys get that? So, Josiah is being clearly put out on the ringer here that he was looking for treasure.
There were reports that down in Harmony, Pennsylvania, that there was Spanish treasure mine, and Stoll concocted the idea, well, perhaps this Joseph Smith, who has these unique abilities.
So Stoll went to Smith. Here they're saying it. They're not denying it. They went to Smith. So if you members of the church, if you investigators who get upset over Joseph being called a treasure hunter, now you know why he was called a treasure hunter. He was hired to hunt for a treasure, to divine, to scry for a treasure, and we will be getting into this in testimony. The church does not deny this.
Could help me locate that treasure. Joseph Smith agreed to help Josiah Stoll along with his father.
So, stop again. Smith agreed along with Joseph Smith Sr.
and a few of the neighbors. Joseph's probably doing it not so much to try to help Stoll, but to help the family.
Whoa. Not so much to help Stoll. This wasn't some type of charity. This was to help his own family. And we're going to see the real reasons, not just the reasons the church claims today, but what comes out of former members' mouths, former family members of Smith.
Smith looked into a stone and described Stoll's house and outhouses, which meant not only the latrine, but the barn, chicken coop, tool shed, and other outbuildings. Stoll was impressed and hired Joseph on the spot. Joseph's
Whoa. And hired Joseph on the spot. So we're being told, and you're going to hear who the source is in a moment. We're being told from a very reliable source you're about to find out from, that Stoll went to Smith, saw him divinate, which was put a seer stone in the hat. So he put a seer stone in the hat, held the hat, put his face into the hat, and divinated, saw with the seer stone, and related Stoll's home inside and out. Inside and out. And that's why Stoll hired him. So let's find out what else is said and who our source is.
Joseph's mother, Lucy, said that Joseph at first refused the offer, but that Stoll was inflexible in his purpose and offered high wages to those who would dig for him in search of said mine, and still insisted upon having Joseph work for him.
Okay, so we have Lucy Mack Smith, the mother. This is the mother of Joseph Smith Jr., the wife of Joseph Smith Sr. This is his mother recounting Lucy Smith, that's his mom, preliminary manuscript, 1845, LDS Church History, Salt Lake City, Utah. So page 43 of that of Church History Library from 1845. Where are we here? This is directly coming out of Smith's mother's own mouth. So this isn't someone, coming up and saying, they heard this, this is secondhand. This is firsthand information from his mother, and we will find out how she knew this even more shortly on. But she says, Stowell was inflexible in his purpose and offered a high wage to those who would dig for him. So they were offering money. Now remember, Smith said he didn't do this. Remember, Smith said he didn't do this for Stoll. They're saying that he did this for himself. So for his family. Let's see what else is said.
On the 1st of November, an Articles of Agreement was drawn up and signed. It stipulated how the group would divide the treasure.
So Smith, who didn't want to do this for Stoll, did this for money and was offered a lot of money, they say. Offered a lot of money. So for this, and we'll see why, and we'll find out how much money. We get actually told by Lucy Smith, Max Smith, later on. We actually get told by her how much Joseph made per month and why he did it, because, we get told that. But this is a contract. So if I go back over here, in this contract, you're going to see Joseph Smith Sr., Joseph Smith Jr. The church does not deny this. The church, they can't. It's in contract. There it is. They have published it in the past. So the church will try to whitewash this. Joseph and his father did not get one split of the share. They each got 1/16, or was it 1/8 or 1/16? So I'm sorry, I can't remember right off the bat of my head. But they each got their own split. So that was one for senior, one for junior. So not together. So just want to make that clear.
The document, which was published in Salt Lake City in 1880, identified 11 shareholders in the company, although all were not present for the signing.
All right, so here we have Joseph and the church agreeing that there was money involved in this endeavor. So there's no disputing it whatsoever that there was money involved. And this comes in later on when we hit the trial. Right now, we are establishing the character witness of our people involved. All right, so let's go back here and see what they say.
We know coming due is a major mortgage payment, and the Smiths needed this money desperately. So
All right, we know that the Smiths had a mortgage payment and needed money. So before Smith went down to work for Stowell. So this is the church admitting to this. This is BYU Journals, the Church Apologist Fair. Let's hear more.
The contract was struck, and
What? Let's listen to this again.
we know coming due is a major mortgage payment, and the Smiths needed this money desperately. So the contract was struck, and
The contract was struck. Did you hear that, guys? Look here. Did you hear that? A contract was struck. So Dan Vogel, when he is showing the image of the contract, the church is not denying that Joseph Sr. and Joseph Jr. signed a contract, binding legal contract, to help search for Spanish gold in the hills of Palmyra in Palmyra. So Harmony, upstate Pennsylvania, and Harmony and lower New York State. So the church is not denying this. They are admitting that he signed a contract. Smith was in need of money, senior, to pay a mortgage for their farm.
Joseph reported down around the 1st of November to Josiah Stoll's home. At the same time, Stoll had made an agreement with Isaac Hale.
Okay, we're going to stop right here. So Isaac Hale was a second partner. This has been known. Isaac Hale was the second partner, and this is how Joseph Smith met. So Emma Hale Smith. So Hale is Smith's future father-in-law,
Who was a hunter in the area of Harmony, Pennsylvania, to actually put these men up as they try to locate the purported treasure.
The church isn't denying that Smith had signed a contract to look for a purported treasure. A financed expedition by his future father-in-law, partly by his future father-in-law. And how do we know this? We will find out shortly. We will have a first-hand source shortly. So we are establishing that the church does not deny that Joseph Smith was a treasure hunter. So that he was a scryer. So he was not the first of his time. He was far from it. There was others, and we will get to this. This is why none of this is offensive, like it will be claimed soon.
Joseph and his father left town with Stoll, probably visiting South Bainbridge first, to gather tools in Stoll's fellow laborers.
Okay, quickly. South Bainbridge, if you remember at the very beginning of the video, is where Joseph Smith was held for trial. That is where he was arrested and held for trial the first time.
And then making their way 30 miles south along the Susquehanna River to Harmony, Pennsylvania. When the company of at least 8 men arrived in Harmony, they boarded at the home of Isaac Hale, a settler from Vermont, who was known in the region as a skillful hunter.
So, Dan Vogel here, citing from LDS Sources History, is not disagreeing with the LDS Apologists at all. They are both in harmony with each other right now.
Hale's large home was beautifully situated between the Oquago mountain range to the north and the Susquehanna River to the south. Lucy Smith, who visited the area in September 1828,
Lucy Mack Smith, Joseph Smith's mother, visited there. She is our source. Once again, she is our source, and this is coming from the church history. Let's get more from her.
described the Hale home as a mansion with a large, neatly finished frame on an extensive and well-cultivated farm. The company remained at the Hale home for 17 days, setting out each morning.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop right here really quick, and we're going to pull it back. We are told by Lucy Smith, the mother of Joseph and the wife of Joseph Smith Sr., that they were there for 2 weeks, 14 days. Remember this 14 days, because this is going to come in. So once Joseph Smith is on trial, these accounts are going to come in because the church is going to make certain claims. So I'll bring them up, and these are how we know they are false.
Home for 17 days, setting out each morning with their picks and shovels into the foothills just above Isaac's farm.
So we are being told by his mother, Joseph Smith Jr.'s mother, and Joseph Smith Sr.'s wife, that they went to the Hale home. So after Stowell's, they went to the Hale home. They stayed there for 14 days, according to her account. And each day with their pickaxes, the 8 men, plus Joseph Smith and his father, and Stowell and Hale. So, because they say 8 workers, and they don't, including Joseph Smith and his father, they add 8 workers, so that's 10 including them. 11 with Hale, or Stowell, 12 with Hale. So that's 12 people going out each day with pickaxes looking for Spanish gold up in the Harmony, Pennsylvania hills after a myth. So this is important. This is important.
Convincing Mr. Stoll to abandon his search for Spanish silver.
Whoa, what's this? So they say Joseph tried to convince Hale to abandon his search? Why? Okay, before we get into why he abandoned his search, remember I told you that, and you saw part of it, remember I told you that there was, Joseph Smith was not unique, that there was other scryers, other stone seers that were treasure finders? So during Joseph Smith's time, do you remember listening to Lucy tell the story of why Stowell hired Smith as his seer, as his scryer? Because he was able to scry his home in detail. So this is important. So Joseph was not the only person doing this at his time. So this is Michael Hubbard McKay, a church apologist and author. This is coming from the church, from FAIR, which is the apologetic group of the church. It was a common part of Joseph Smith's cultural environment in Western New York in the 1820s. Common practice for Smith and his kind, and we're going to find out more. This is Hubbard McKay saying that we really need to question what we're reading and dismiss what we don't want. So as we go down further, we're going to see from Thayer's own website. I have the link below in the description. The link to this where I'm reading here, that link is in the description below with many others. So you can go and pull this up and actually find this and read it on Thayer's own website. Young Joseph Smith was a member of a socialized subcommittee with ties to these very old and respectable practices. Though by the early 1880s they were respected with only a marginalized segment of society. So even in Palmyra, he was not unique. So, in Michael Quinn's words, until the Book of Mormon thrust young Smith into the prominence, Palmyra's most notable seer was Sally Chase. Joseph Smith wasn't even the most notable. Sally Chase was a contemporary of his at the same time in Palmyra, upstate New York. So the things that Joseph Smith is going to be tried for, the things the church is publicly agreeing with right now to this point, and they will agree that Sally Chase, they do bring up Sally Chase and don't deny her. They actually use her as a defense that Joseph wasn't doing anything, bad, so they're just going after him. Well, yes, that means he wasn't unique, is right, and he wasn't a prophet, seer, and revelator. There were many prophet, seers, and revelators. Many. The church is just being coy with you and playing semantics. Palmyra's most notable seer was Sally Chase, who used a greenish-colored stone. If you go onto Mr. Vogel's site, a former LDS scholar and historian who left on good standing from the church. He left, not excommunicated. He could not harmonize what he discovered to what was the truth and left. So if you go, he actually goes into more detail of Sally Chase and Joseph Smith, and how Joseph Smith is reported by, I believe it was Pratt or one of those Cowdery, Pratt or Cowdery, reports that Smith actually, one of his stones, the Chase stone, came from the Chase well. The Chase stone, Sally Chase. The Chase stone, Sally Chase. His Chase stone came from her well. William Stafford and his brother Joshua Stafford also had seer stones, or peep stones, which looked like white marble and had a hole through the center. The church is openly admitting to this. They are no longer denying this. This is something that they're no longer denying. So why am I bringing this up to you guys? Because Joseph Smith and the church are about to either, one, whitewash or deny some of these allegations. So when they say Joseph Smith tried to talk out Stowell from continuing digging, they whitewash it, and so does Joseph, and it's not whitewashable. We are about to see it's not whitewashable whatsoever.
Believed in Joseph to the last, saying that he never knew anything of him but that was right, and also knew Joseph was a seer and a prophet, and that the Book of Mormon was true.
Okay, we're going to stop here. Not incorrect whatsoever. Stoll, to the very day he died, was a supporter of Joseph. Stoll became a member in 1834 years later. Stoll kept on accepting Joseph's excuses why they could not find the treasure, and that will come up in a moment. It was one of Stoll's relatives, his nephew, that brought Joseph Smith to trial before a judge. It was Stoll's nephew who charged Joseph. So, because Stoll kept on getting deceived by Joseph and would not look at what Joseph was doing, he kept on buying Joseph's excuses, and we're about to hear the excuses.
Stoll's company was confident that the 19-year-old would prove to be more gifted than Odell.
I'm going to stop right here really quick, and something I need to bring up. Joseph was 19 years of age at this time. So, this isn't irrelevant, it's not petty. In the last video, we went over the first vision, and we had two contradictions. Joseph was being said to be 14 and 16, and some reports 15, but we're staying with 14 and 16, the two main ones. The official church stance is 14 years of age in 1824 for the first vision. We're in 1826 when Joseph is being told by several sources he is 19 years of age. Joseph has already given us his first vision detail at least once now. So he's not going to give it again. This is 26. He doesn't give it again to 6 years later in 32. We only have his first vision account so far for official. So he has already had his vision of Moroni, his vision of Moroni visiting him. So he is now down south in upstate Pennsylvania in Harmony. At the age of 19, once again making a statement of divination. Divination is no different than a peeper or seer stone, where they look into a object or item of supposed magical importance, and it is reveals to them. So that's why it's called divination. So because it's divine insight that they claim to be seeing. So the church cannot even get right and be straight and true on how old Joseph was. The younger he was, the more miraculous his vision seems. The older he is and the account changing, the more questionable it is. Joseph's 19 here, 2 years after the first vision. He was 16 during the first vision. The church wasn't honest there. How do we know what is honestly being said by the church here? We need to look at what's being said right now.
On the first morning, Stoll led Joseph and the others up the steep incline leading to the home of Joseph McCoon Jr., situated atop one of the bluffs in the foothills of Oquego Mountain. As the group ascended the rocky slope, they could see evidence of Stoll's previous labors. Plainly visible from the path leading to the McCoon home was a large pit, 20 feet deep and 150 feet in circumference.
Okay, we're going to stop right here for a quick second. So we are being told that there's 4 holes dug. So Joseph Smith told them this is where they need to go. This is where the Spanish gold is. This is where he divinated the Spanish gold by putting his head into a hat, looking at a seer stone, divinating. So divine insight. So when he got there, the treasure moved, according to him. And we're going to find out. I'm not making that up. We never made this up. It is out of the witnesses' own mouths.
Standing over the spot, Joseph looked at the stone in his hat and corroborated Odell's assertions, declaring that the Spanish had indeed left behind about a ton of silver bars. After digging some time, Joseph informed Stoll that the treasure was charmed.
It was charmed. What does he mean by charmed, that the treasure was charmed? They couldn't find it, that was charmed. Hey, Jesus, do you want an insight on this? Watch on? He says watch on. He's interested too.
And had slid down the hill to another location.
It slid down the hill to another location. This is why we have different dig sites for them. It was charmed, the treasure, Spanish treasure was charmed and slid downhill. It kept on escaping them.
Over the next 2 weeks,
over the next 2 weeks? Over the next 2 weeks. Who told us they were there for 2 weeks not too long ago? Lucy Mack Smith? She told us they were there for 2 weeks.
The company would dig 4 additional holes, 3 smaller pits to the south, and another directly east.
Right. All right. So in 2 weeks period, they could not find the treasure, digging over and over and over again. So did we not get told by the church earlier that Joseph Smith tried to dissuade them from digging? Could it be that he dissuaded them from digging anymore? Not from digging anymore, because he could no longer pull off the con. And yes, it was a con. Because if it was charmed and kept on moving, does anyone really believe a treasure is charmed and keeps on moving around? Honestly, today, do we really believe in stuff like that? Back then, do you think people were buying that too? No, that's why one of Stoll's nephews brought Joseph Smith before the courts and tried to have him charged. Not tried, he did, and we're going to find out about this right here in a second.
In his brief 14-year career, Joseph Smith, founder of the Mormon faith, faced many legal difficulties.
Many legal difficulties.
In March 1826, the 20-year-old Joseph Smith was arrested and brought before South Bainbridge Justice of the Peace Albert Neely, under the charge of being a disorderly person and an impostor.
Okay. Disorderly person and an impostor. This is why we went through everything we just went through to get here. Because as Joseph kept on saying the treasure was charmed and moving, he is making money off of a contract. He gets more money off this contract. He makes 12 cents a month doing this. So that is 6 cents made already for him doing what he's doing. So this is why Stowell's relative nephew brought Joseph Smith for foolery, for conning them, for changing the location and keeping them working. So finally, when people started questioning and challenging him, he finally called a stop to it, and that's where we get that clip from the church. So saying that they tried to have him stop digging.
The location of the court trial held against the prophet Joseph Smith in Broome County, New York, is the Nathaniel Cole Tavern.
Okay, quickly. The church doesn't deny that he went to trial. They know where he went to. They know the name of it. They know the location.
Remnants of the foundation of the tavern are found here in Harpersville, New York.
Okay, so Joseph, they know where Joseph was on trial. They know where he was brought to. So as we were saying, Joseph wanted to cease digging. So that's what the church claimed. That's what we just saw a clip about. We saw that he had done four. So yes, 4. So sorry guys, don't want to pull the same thing again. 4 times he has dug a hole after they're claiming that it had slipped away because it had a enchantment on it. So this is what we're going to hear from Joseph Smith. Let's go to Joseph Smith.
Nearby Broome County for trial there.
Who concealed the major role he played in this venture.
That's Joseph Smith who concealed that role. I kind of clipped that part out by accident, sorry.
When he wrote about it, was ambiguous about the circumstances leading to the disbandment of the project.
Ambiguous. Don't want to sound condescending, but for anyone who's doesn't know what that word is, vague, kind of, hesitant. What's the other words you can use? Avoidance. So untruthful. Many different words you can use. But this is what Joseph Smith says about his reason for wanting to quit and why he suggested to the party that they quit. So here we go. Let's switch over and let's do this.
After nearly a month without success in our undertaking, he said, finally I prevailed with the old gentleman to cease digging after it. According to Isaac Hale, young Smith gave the money diggers great encouragement at first. But when they had arrived in digging to near the place where he had stated an immense treasure would be found.
Okay, so let's stop here for a second, guys. Smith says after 2 weeks and finding nothing, they left. He didn't tell anyone that, it was enchanted, it kept on slipping away, they have to keep on looking for it. He doesn't tell you that. So we know because we have witnesses that are family members, and we get it right from Hale himself. And here's what Hale was saying. Hale, his father-in-law. So this is Smith's future father-in-law. We heard young Smith gave the money diggers. So what the church accepts. Young Smith gave the money diggers great encouragement at first, but they had arrived in digging to near the place where he had started on immense treasures would be found. He said that the enchantment was so powerful that he could not see. They then became discouraged and soon thereafter dispersed. And we're going to listen to Dan Vogel, who finished reading it, but I wanted to hammer that home. So Smith said they got discouraged because they couldn't find it. Hale said they got discouraged because Smith said it kept on changing. We know from the nephews of, I want to say Falwell, of Fowl, or no, I'm getting the name wrong. Anyways, we know who we're talking about. Long day today. They all testify that Smith had them chasing the treasure around.
He said the enchantment was so powerful that he could not see. They then became discouraged, and soon after dispersed. Hale's nephews, Joseph and Hyle Lewis, said their digging in several places was in compliance with Pieper Smith's revelations, who would attend with...
Whoa, whoa. Did they say Pieper Smiths? Why would they call him Pieper if that was offensive to Joseph? Could it be because he was a peeper? He was. Oh, no, no. No, Jesus says he was also a seer. So he used to see, and so I'm sorry, Jesus, you're right. You're right. Yeah, he says he wasn't giving Joseph Smith the images. He said Joseph, that wasn't him. You sure you didn't give that to Joseph? Okay, you're positive. That's why you called it a seer stone too, because he wasn't seeing anything by you. Got it there from the guy upstairs. Yeah, you can come down after I've edited this video and get it going and jam. Yeah, he's been a little fussy here and having a tantrum and chilling out now. So yeah, guys, they called him Pieper Smith Revelations because he was a why can't I get that word out today? Earlier today, this is the second part of this. I had to go to work and I'm filming this after work now. Divination. So he used divination. So like I said, divine interpretation, revelation. So Smith was a peeper seer. It's not an offensive term to call him that. It was not derogatory like the apologists are later going to claim in this video. It's just a pure simple fact of what he was, and they admitted that he was not the only seer slash peeper. So they admitted to Chase and the two brothers and others. So this isn't anything that they're trying to, deny. They've actually used this as a defense.
With his peepstone in his hat, and his hat drawn over his face, and would tell them how deep they would have to go. But when they would find no trace of the chest of money, he would peep again, and would weep like a child, and tell them the enchantment had removed it on account of some sin or thoughtless word. Finally, the enchantment became so strong that he could not see, and so the business was abandoned.
Finally, the enchantment became so strong that he could not see, and so the business was abandoned. Did Joseph not plead for them to stop digging? Was it him not saying that that there was nothing there? No, he pleaded with them to stop digging is horse crap. The party, so the people who signed this contract we just finished talking about a few minutes prior, no longer had faith in Joseph, and he knew between the Hales and Josiah Stowell, thank you, Stowell's nephew, and Joseph and Hale Lewis, and others were no longer accepting Joseph's bull crap story of an enchantment and it moving around. They were starting to get wise that he was a con artist and a fraud. And Joseph wasn't stupid. Joseph was a smart man. So don't think he was stupid. He realized the gig was up. So church might be right. I will give benefit of the doubt. Church might be right because they do not say here. It's not clear cut here. Finally, the enchantment became so strong that he could not see, and so the business was abandoned. So maybe Joseph did plead with them to stop, but it was not for the reasons that the church would like to say. It was because he was no longer able to pull off his charade. This is coming directly from Mormon history, a new chapter about to be published. So coming from Journal 24, April 30th, 1879. This is coming from the church's own stuff, guys. So Joseph Smith was a treasure seeker. Joseph Smith was a divinator. Joseph Smith was a seeker or a seer and a peeper, which means he used a stone to divinate, so to see. So I'm sorry, that's just the fact, and I know that offends members of the church, but the church doesn't even deny it. It's part of the history that they try to whitewash because it's no longer, it's distasteful to them. So it's an embarrassment and distasteful to their history because it's something that they were able to whitewash and move away from, and it's now been resurfaced over the last 20-some years.
And so the business was abandoned.
After convincing Mr. Stoll to abandon his search for Spanish silver,
See, after convincing him, now we're going to come to the trial of Joseph Smith Jr., the glacier. So why do they call him a glacier? Because he used a peeping stone. So he was a seer, a peeper. So his own brother-in-laws, cousins, because it would be the cousins or nephews of Hale. So it'd be his second cousins through marriage. So to Emma, so even say the same.
The next day, a trial was held before a magistrate.
It's an interesting trial. We don't know a lot about it, but it was brought forward by a man by the name of Peter Bridgman.
Yes, Peter Bridgman. Peter Bridgman is Stowell. Why do I want to say Stowell? Stowell's nephew. So, and this is what we get from him.
Prisoner examined says
Oh, sorry.
that he came from the town of Palmyra.
Oh, sorry. My mistake. This isn't the testimony of. I should have been clear about this. This isn't the testimony or statement from the nephew of Stoll. So this is the judge, Justice of the Peace then, so presiding over the trial of Joseph Smith Jr. So this is the justice himself speaking in accordance to his interviewing Joseph. So let's go here.
Prisoner examined says that he came from the town of Palmyra and had been in the house of Josiah Stolls in Bainbridge most of the time since. Had small part of the time been employed in looking for mines, but the major part had been employed by said Stoll on his farm.
Okay, we're going to stop quickly here. I'm going to try to not go too much here and just let the two sides, go at it and explain the history together, and I'll give a few commentary. But Joseph Smith is again avoiding coming straight out and saying that he was looking for a treasure. So he goes over here and says he had been employed in looking for mines. So we know what he was looking for: silver mines, the Spanish silver mines of legend. But he does not tell the justice this. So he does not tell the justice that he's looking for treasure, only that he's looking for mines and that he had been paid majorly to work on the farm. If we remember, Lucy Mack Smith, Joseph's mother, said in the 17 days, I think I said 14 earlier in the video, it was 17 days, not 14. So I meant to make that correction. So in the 17 days they were there, she said every single day they left in the morning till evening with their pickaxes. So before they ceased to stop and leave. So did Joseph Smith work on his farm and go to school? How could he be working as a farmhand and attending an education to upgrade his education? So during the time period that he's spending all day looking for Spanish gold and looking for the mine shafts. So how could he, when they are spending time digging one hole, then it slips away through enchantment. They dig a second hole and it slips away with enchantment. Then they dig a third hole and it slips away. Then the fourth. And yet he has time to work on the farm and go to school when Lucy Mack Smith tells us that for 17 days from morning to night that they went out up into the hills searching? That does not make sense. Stop and ask yourself, which one seems more logical? So that he had been looking for mines, but most of the time that he had been working on a farm? Or what Lucy Mack Smith said, with a signed contract. Don't forget, they had a signed contract, and the Smith farm, senior farm, was up for mortgage payment, and they needed the money. This is admitted by the church. It's their own words that said that.
And going to school. That he had a certain stone, which he had occasionally looked at to determine where hidden treasures in the bowels of the earth were. that he professed to tell in this manner where gold mines were, a distance underground, and had looked for Mr. Stoll several times, and had informed him where he could find those treasures, and Mr. Stoll had been engaged in looking for them.
See, Joseph goes and contradicts himself. He is so prideful and he wants people to recognize him so much that he goes and then contradicts himself. So he goes and says, and let's go back, he had a certain stone where he had occasionally, and it wasn't against the law to occasionally look and try to determine where something was. Let me be clear about that. Let me be clear before any proponent of the Mormon church comes and says, well, yes, so, but in Palmyra, New York, and in New York State, that was not a crime to do something like that. Well, no, it wasn't. It was not a crime. You are correct if you do bring it up, and I will bring it up right now. What was a crime was charging money, and then committing mischief and trickery, the two things that Joseph Smith was accused of. He would say he found the location, he would have them dig, and then claim it moved and have them dig, and kept on tricking. Trickery is one of the charges he was accused for, which is not allowed under what Joseph Smith is claimed is allowed to do here. So, free, yes. So, getting a part of the cut of the profit, if they find something, yes. But being paid and a cut, no. Not allowed.
Peter Bridgman was the nephew of Josiah Stoll.
Oh, yes, sorry. Let's go back here. So he tells them that they were looking for the gold mine. So anything he's confessing here isn't illegal. Everything that he confesses down here isn't legal. So why am I bringing it up? One, so people can't say that, yes, it was not illegal, because correct. But two, Stoll will later testify in this video, not too long down the road, on, we'll leave Stoll's testimony for himself. So you just remember this and why this is important, or going to be important. So let's go and hear the apologist.
Mr. Stoll had been engaged in looking for them.
Peter Bridgman was the nephew of Josiah Stoll, off his wife, Josiah Stoll's wife Miriam, was on her side of the family. And Peter Bridgman charges Joseph Smith with being a glass looker and a disorderly person.
A glass looker and a disorderly person. A disorderly person is one, and if you go to Dan Vogel's page on here, his documentary on here, his presentation is strictly academic. So on his site, in this presentation that I'm using from him. So if you go there, let's listen here, and I'll finish telling you why. Let's go here.
With being a glass looker and a disorderly person.
All right, a glass looker and a disorderly person. Trickery. Like I said, in Dan Vogel's thing, he lists off of everything. Trickery is under disorderly person. Being a glass looker and deceiving or conning someone is under a disorderly person. So two of the things that the church is admitting, that this is a member of Stoll's family. It's his nephew on his wife's side. This is one of his nephews. So did not buy into the four-hole enchantment. So along with his future cousins by marriage, second cousins by marriage. So Emma's cousins, neither those three didn't buy into it. Who knows? We don't know how many of the others didn't buy into it, but we know those three didn't buy into it. So, and this is their defense over here on Fair. Let's, what they're saying, let's finish hearing.
We don't know much about the hearing and really what went on. There's a small amount of records there to kind of piece things together.
All right. We do know enough about the trial. We know enough. It has been manuscripts 3 separate times had been published. So in the 1800s period, late 1800s, mid 1800s. So if you go to Dan Vogel's site once again, and in his site you can also find in his description links to church, sites where this is accepted. So The church isn't denying this. The church is aware of this. The church knows this. The church is just trying to figure out a way to dismiss it and have an investigator and a active member accept it. So, and why is this important? Because at one point the church wouldn't even accept this, and they made excuse after excuse trying to dismiss it without talking to it, and we're going to go after former apologist Hugh Nibley. So we are going to go after former apologist Hugh Nibley. So Hugh Nibley was the leading figure speaking as apologist for the church, and this is what he says about Joseph Smith's trial.
Despite the account of an eyewitness and publication of the court transcript, Mormon apologists typically denied the reality of the 1826 trial.
So despite the transcripts, so Nibley is saying that they are liars, that they don't exist, these transcripts, and the one witness that they do know about that he'll recognize. So we know there's more than that. The church even admits that there's more than that now, and this is one of the reasons Hugh Nibley is wanted to just go away and disappear within the church's eyes, because the comments like we're going back to in a moment. So the church no longer denies this any longer. Hugh Nibley's statement is outdated and no longer pertinent and needs to be hid in the church's eyes, because this is no longer what they're trying to teach their members and let their members know about. They're trying to be transparent about this while they're whitewashing it, and they can't be transparent and have Hugh Nibley's statement in here. It can't. Because if this court record is authentic, it is the damning evidence in existence against Joseph Smith. So Hugh Nibley says, if these documents the church is now accepting, the church is now talking about, that they're not, trying to lie about anymore, if they are true, so then the evidence against Joseph Smith is damning. So, if the court record is authentic, it is the damning evidence in existence against Joseph Smith, which he calls and cited in the mythical trial of 1826. He calls it a mythical trial. Stuff that we're watching the church accepting and answering right now, whitewashed or not, the church is acknowledging this as authentic. So they're whitewashing it. You may disagree with me. They are whitewashing it, and I'm hoping you come out at the end realizing this. And one of the reasons you can tell they're whitewashing it is Hugh Nibley calls it mythical trial of 1826, during the time period that the church was still denying that this happened. We are inclined to regard A.W. Brenton's story of the 1826 trial as fiction. As fiction. A product of A.W.B.'s own wishful thinking. This is not what we're hearing out of church apologists' mouths, are we? No, it's not. So true or false? Is this what we're hearing coming out of the apologists' mouths for you members and investigators to what Hugh Nibley has just said? So are we inclined to believe the trial of 1826 for Joseph Smith was fictional? So are we willing to accept that it was a mythical trial of 1826? This was church teachings while Hugh Nibley was their church apologist. This is stuff they used to deny and say never happened, and Joseph Smith was never charged or arrested. It was all a farce by anti-Mormon and anti-Mormon literature, and it got to a point where they could no longer hide it, as the manuscripts were found in 1971. 1971, they found the manuscripts in the courthouses. And the church does try to do some countering to that you can't really read the, it's not that legible. You can't read. You've seen those course transcripts you're seeing I've been showing. Those are the transcripts that the church says, well, you can't really read them. They're not really legible, but they don't deny them. They accept them. Bear accepts them. They don't deny them as legit. They just say they're hard and illegible to read. So, but we're seeing it. We're reading the stuff. I can read it. You can read it as we're going along. So, who's right? Hugh Nibley and past teachings of the church, or the modern teachings of the church with the scholars and the apologists up there and the church now coming out and admitting to this and doing documentaries on BYU journals and on their websites. So on their website hosting it. Why? If this was a mythical trial, and if this is a wishful product or wishful thinking and a story of fiction, then why does the church accept it as true now?
As an anti-Mormon invention.
Interesting that in the court hearing,
The charge is vagrancy, and the individual who's being charged is Joseph Smith, the glass looker.
See, Hugh Nibley, leaders of the church at the time of Hugh Nibley and prior to that, who were endorsing that this was nothing but a mythical, fictional, wishful thinking, made-up story. Your current and former apologists of these, some of these guys are from the early 2000s. The current church apologists of the church are still endorsing this down here, this little, that's why I have it on the corner. The church is still endorsing this new version. So Hugh Nibley and the old leadership are either correct, and this is fictional and myth, it never happened, or the new leadership and the new apologists are right, and this did happen. It's one or the other, guys. It's not both. It's one or the other. Now do you guys understand why we left the church? People like myself and others left the church. It's unreconcilable things like this that you cannot harmonize. So you just can't harmonize it. There's no way you can. There's certain things you can, and you can justify, and then there's things like this where you can't harmonize. It's a true or false statement. True or false, it's mythical. True or false, that it is true. So that it happened. It's one or the other.
Or Joseph Smith, the
Okay, so
court hearing,
The charge is vagrancy, and the individual who's being charged is Joseph Smith, the glass looker, or Joseph Smith, the imposter. And so he's not being taken to court to see if he really is a glass looker. Or
whoa. What? Here, listen. Let's pull this back for a second. Let's listen to this for a second. Let's listen to what he says here. What the hey?
And so he's not being taken to court to see if he really is a glass looker or if he is an imposter. It's whether he's a vagrant.
He's trying to confuse you. He's trying to confuse you. The glass looker charge is vagrancy. So, as I said, go over to Dan Vogel's site, watch his documentaries. He's got a 2-part series, 1 and 2. The trial, part 1, the verdict, or the testimony, part 2. So, in the trial, part 1, and in part 2, he has photos, the replicas of the photos that the church does not deny. Even on the fair website, they do not deny the replicas so that he has, that he uses. So they list what is under vagrancy. So, and being a con artist, being a trickster. So being someone who charges a service and fools someone off of it is a crime. So glass seeking. So seer, so peeper, scryer, those are terms that were used. Divinator, those were terms used in Joseph's day. Those are terms the church has said Joseph was, and gave, Sally Chase and others said he wasn't the only one. Why are you getting on Joseph's case? Why are you jumping on Joseph? He wasn't the only one. Look at Sally Chase. So she was even bigger than him in Palmyra. So, yet, on the other hand, here you've got the apologists in the church saying, well, he wasn't there for being a glass seer, so I don't know why they're saying that about him. They arrested him on being a vagrant. So, and this is important because he's going to make an accusation in a second. So let's see what the accusation is.
And they're using these derogatory terms, the
Derogatory.
glass looker, and trying to
Glass looker.
sway the court with to see if he really is a glass looker or if he is an imposter.
If he really is a glass looker,
Trial.
if he really is an
As an
imposter. Let's go back here and re-listen to that word.
Anti-Mormon invent.
that in the court hearing,
The charge is vagrancy, and the
Okay, the charge is vagrancy.
individual who's being charged is Joseph Smith, the glass looker.
Joseph Smith, the glass looker. The defendant and his crime.
Or Joseph Smith, the imposter. And so he's not being taken to court to see if he really is a glass looker or if he is an imposter. It's whether he's a vagrant. And they're using these derogatory terms, the glass looker, and trying to sway the court with a character assassination.
There is no character assassination. The church uses tongue-in-cheek here. So they have no problem jumping on, and we saw the apologist statement where they said that Joseph was far from the only glass seeker. So they use the term, they use the term seeker, seer. So they use the term peeper. They use the glass looker in their fairlatterdaysaints.org site. So on their paper, it's in the description. Go down, it's in the description. It's there. You can look it up. I had the screenshot. It's there. The actual site's there. This isn't some trickery on you guys. It's there. And yet this guy here is trying to tongue-in-cheek and confuse you guys and pull you away from what's going on and get you into a circular straw man argument. So you see how I say, hence the trial? Hence the trial? Joseph Smith, the glass looker. Joseph Smith Jr., the defendant, so who is being charged for the crime of glass looking and being a vagrant by glass looking. So that was his crime. So, what's his name? Hale's two nephews, and Stoll's nephews went after Joseph Smith for being a glass looker who was committing trickery on them for money, which was a crime in New York State. A crime, hence the trial, hence the leading up to this. Everything we put in here up to now, this is why, because they say it's a character assassination. How is it a character assassination when on their own website, on FAIR's own website, and these are FAIR apologists, so on their own website, they're using this as a defense for Joseph Smith when he's being attacked for being a peeper and a seer and a glass looker, and they say, well, of course, but he wasn't the only one, and Sally Chase was even bigger than him. Whoa! Hey, Jesus, yeah, I see a laugh. It's funny, it's comical, isn't it? It's comical. I thought I heard a noise up there. I was just trying to ignore him. He's rolling on the floor laughing, like he's kicking and screaming. Hey, dude, calm down. I know it's comical, but calm down, man. So, he just finds this absolutely mind-blowing funny. I agree with him, I would probably do it too, but I got neighbors downstairs, and I'm like, Jesus, I don't have the power and clout to just go snap, you're dead, or turn them into wine. But yeah, okay, all seriousness, guys, all seriousness. Do you hear what they're saying? Do you see what they're saying? Do you catch what they're trying to do to you? Do you see how they're trying to bring you around in a circle? They start off on the point at hand, quickly go off of it, come all the way around, back to point on hand. But in that point, they confuse you. They get off, they try to confuse you, they try to throw you off. Does that not leave you coming out? Let's listen to this one more time before we move on. One more time.
Or Joseph Smith, and the individual.
Okay, let's go
Quite
here.
the script. Trial.
Hearing
The charge is vagrancy, and the individual who's being charged is Joseph Smith, the glass looker, or Joseph Smith, the imposter. And so he's not being taken to court to see if he really is a glass looker or if he is an imposter. It's whether he's a vagrant. And they're using these derogatory terms, the glass looker, in trying to sway the court with a character assassination.
Okay, so, is that not comical? Is that not comical after you saw, 15, 20 minutes ago, their own website using this, what they're calling defamation and character assassination as their defense for Joseph? Is that not comical to you? Is that not contradictory and hypocritical? True or false? True or false?
So that even though this isn't a very solid charge that he's a vagrant, because that doesn't make any sense at all. He's there working for Josiah Stoll. So how's he
Yes, he's working for Josiah Stoll, working as a treasure finder, a divinator, a seeker, a stone seer, a glass seer.
vagrant? But that doesn't matter, because what our real concern is he's a glass looker.
That doesn't all matter. What matters is he's a glass looker. This guy is, serious guy. Do you see the straw man circle, infallible circle argument here? They are trying to confuse you and not address the issue while they appear to be addressing the issue. It's not being addressed. They're just confusing you more.
Or he's an imposter, which they can't prove anyway. Or it's just a derogatory term to say Joseph has gifts of seership.
Joseph was acquitted, and even the abusive constable apologized to Joseph.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. They say Joseph was acquitted. That's been a stance that they said, well, Joseph wasn't really charged. You know, he got arrested and he was acquitted right away. They realized that it was all false, and, it's not like we think today of court. So that's how they tried to dismiss it in the early days. And then they tried to completely deny it, like I said, and pretend it never happened. Especially under the days of Hugh Nibley, where we saw Hugh Nibley's direct quote calling it all frauds. So, and then you have them now admitting it, but saying, hey, the officer, after they acquitted him, the officer felt bad. And we know about this officer, and we're going to be getting more into this officer down the road. Because this acquittal is important. So it's not an acquittal. We'll find out. And he didn't help him escape. This is what Joseph Smith Sr., his father, had to say about this.
The trial marked a low point in young Joseph's life. He felt the sting of society's rejection. Even his father apologized for his behavior.
Even his father apologized for his behavior. Wow. And here's some manuscripts.
The most detailed attempt.
Okay, so we're going back. I'm not spending much time here. We're going into Gordon A. Madsen, a church apologist. So a church apologist and one of the leading figures on this.
To interpret the trial records in harmony with Joseph Smith's claim that he had been acquitted is Gordon A. Madsen's Joseph Smith's 1826 trial, the legal setting, in Brigham Young University Studies for spring 1990. However, Neely's use of the term guilty.
Okay, we're going to cover this. I brought that up. I want you guys checking out this author. He makes a presentation as if he was arguing as a legal defense for Joseph Smith in his book. He argues as if he's the defense lawyer for him. So the defense attorney. He is not giving you actual factual accounts all the time. He is arguing ifs, and then tries to focus on certain words. And we're going to start getting into terminology and how he tries to justify and whitewash what's about to precede this. And this matters. This is building up to how we know this is bullcrap. And that's what it is. I'm going to call it for what it is. This is bullcrap. We know what the church apologists are saying are bullcrap, and it's about to come up.
Does not necessarily imply a judgment had been reached in Smith's case, only that Neely had found sufficient evidence against Smith to proceed with a formal trial.
Okay, this is important, because when we get to the arresting officer, the bailiff, the sheriff, whatever you want to call him, so who arrested Joseph, not only did the judge, what we would call a judge now, but the justice of the peace, which was Albert Neely that we've seen here, so who we actually heard repeat Joseph's testimony to him. So we also have the judge would charge the justice of the peace, and the bailiff would charge the county for their work. This was an income, and they charged, and we have the statements. So that 1971 finding I told you about that the church tries to say is blurred out and not that legible, it's legible, and you're going to be seeing it, and it's coming up. This all matters because of that.
The mob persisted, however, and the constable eventually helped Joseph escape to safety.
So, again, they say the constable helped him escape to safety. Why am I bringing this up? Because he did escape, but it's not the way they are making it to be. So watch here and find out, and I'll make more commentary soon.
Josiah Stoll and Jonathan Thompson gave reasons for their belief that Smith possessed a genuine gift. But because New York law made no distinction between fraudulent and real scryers, the court had every right to treat Smith's defense as a confession of guilt and to convict Smith as a disorderly person.
Did you hear that? Based on the testimony of Josiah, so Stoll, so Ann Thompson, which was one of the partners, if you look at the contract, his name's on there. But we're going to focus mainly on Stoll because it said that he stayed faithful to Joseph until the very end and defended him at the very beginning of this video, near the beginning of the video. I said it was going to be important. This is why it's important. So because his testimony was damaging to Joseph. If you notice, I said Joseph avoids saying he was being paid for the treasure finding. So he said he was looking for mines and telling them where there might be treasure. So he's not saying that he was, telling them the treasure was there and then it moved and they had to dig there and then it moved. Stoll tells Neely this. Stoll tells Neely this. Based off his testimony in Thompson's, it went no longer from just, seer and not an illegal activity to now a trickster and disorderly conduct. Because now he's fooling people for profit. So by his own people, his own employer's hands, they had condemned Joseph Smith. So Neely said due to that, he was going to call in 2 more justices. It was going to be a 3-justice panel. So a 3-justice panel, and Joseph was on bail for this period. The sheriff here, and they mentioned it, the one who helped him escape, so went and informed the other 2 justices and charged them for it. We're going to come up to that. Not only did he do that, is he charged them for going and having to hunt down Joseph after Joseph escaped. You will be seeing this. This is why it's important. He has to go and hunt Joseph down to try to bring him back for the second trial that he's going to have to face.
Stoll's constantly coming to the aid of Joseph Smith in terms of particularly character, his character reference to show that, hey, this is indeed a remarkable person, regardless of whatever.
Regardless of whatever, he's a remarkable person. This is testimony from Stoll that ended up condemning Joseph before the law because the whatever was, no, that is illegal. You can't do that whatever. You cannot trick people for money. Wow.
Rumors have been circulating. I know this young man. And,
wow. And did I screw up again on the cuts?
And he's a noble character.
And he's a noble character.
However, Neely's itemization at the end.
Okay, Neely's itemization. So, guys, Neely's itemization. Remember how I said that the church doesn't deny the existence of the 1971 finding of the church manuscripts, or the church of the court manuscripts and transcripts? So, and they had been published 3 times prior in the 1800s. Remember I said that? Can you read this? I can read all of this. Cost. Warrant, 19 cents. And they're going to go over this. I'm just saying, I can read this, so I'm going to show you. Complaint upon oath. These are witnesses taking their oath. 25 point some cents. Witnesses. So this is 87.5 cents. This is how much he's charging. So, you guys can read this on your screen. So, don't tell me Apologist from there. Do not tell me that these are illegible and we cannot read them because of damage over time. They're very readable, and this is how we know what's being told of us by Fair is complete horse crap and whitewashed because we've got the evidence in front of us. We've got the proof.
End of the court transcript and Constable Dezang's bill.
Oh, Constable Dezang's bill. Constable Dezang, that, the Fair Apologist we watched just a few minutes ago said that, Dezang helped Joseph Smith escape after he was exonerated. So he helped him escape, yet he has a bill, and we're going to see that bill, and where he charges to go get Joseph Smith, because Joseph Smith jumped his bail for the second court.
Indicate that Smith's case did not conclude with Neely's verdict of guilty, and Smith going to jail. Neely's itemization lists the following costs.
We're going to go over this.
The first item, warrant, 19 cents, represents Neely's issuing a warrant for Smith's arrest, 19 cents being the standard fee.
And I'm going to stop right here for a second. We know when he says the standard fee, we know because there's actually a handbook and they will show you copies. If you go to his site, you can actually see it listed down. All the fees for different things that's in the Justice of the Peace handbook. What you charge the county for which offense and what you're doing. So nowadays our taxes pay for that. We don't. But back then the county paid for all this. The county. So this is what, is being charged by Justice Neely to the county for Joseph Smith's trial.
The second item, complaint upon oath, 25 cents, represents Neely's charge of 25 cents for taking Peter Bridgman's complaint against Smith as a disorderly person. The standard fee was 25 cents. Marshall's 25.5 cents is therefore likely wrong.
I'm not going to be picky over that. That's just being picky. If I said, why did he get it wrong on half a cent, but, in the total it's right. Peanuts to peanuts, all is all. They're both agreeing with each other. There's no dispute on here. They're both agreeing with each other. So let's go back and here, boom.
Item 3, 7 witnesses, 87.5 cents. There would be a charge for examining the witnesses and a charge for taking their bond to appear at a future time for trial. Only one such charge of 25 cents for the defendant and 75 cents for 3 witnesses is listed. The far safer conclusion, as I maintain, is that recognizance, as used in Neely's bill, means examining defendant and witnesses.
I'm not really sure where Madsen's trying to go with this. Once again, we are going, and I explained this to you guys, Mormon apologists do not like to directly confront the issue. They either directly whitewash it or they start off and do that circular back. And during that circle, they pull you away from the topic and end right back at the topic. And this is what's happening right down here again with Gordon A. Madsen. So Madsen is saying nothing different than what is correct. So legally. So the charges are, the cost of the charges are correct. We know 75 cents for the witnesses are listed. So we have one of the witnesses that are being talked to. We have Neely telling us this is the account I got from Joseph Smith. So we went over it where Joseph is vaguely accepting his responsibility. And at that point, Neely can't really do much about it because Neely has nothing really against him. Till you have Stoll and Thompson stand up and testify on Smith's behalf and condemns him. So Madsen doesn't even go near that. Madsen tries to stay away from that. He talks about Smith and comes back and says the defendant and the witnesses, he examined the defendants and the witnesses. Well, yeah, what's your point? He did. And we heard with what one of the witnesses said, Joseph Smith himself. What's your point, Madsen? This is where I say we get straw man arguments and, they just go into a circular motion of garbage. This isn't, what's the defense here? Can you guys tell me what the defense is here for Madsen on what, we're claiming? So not claiming, what we're showing? He's just confirming it. Wow.
Madsen apparently also overlooked the fact that Neely's record lists the testimony of 5 witnesses. Now, let's look at Constable DeZang's bill.
Yes, let's look at DeZang's bill. DeZang, the constable who helped Joseph Smith escape after he was exonerated according to Mormon apologists. So, number 5 is the point in case we're really going to look at to say the apologists are full of crap. They are full of crap. That didn't happen, and we know it because DeZang tells us so. Let's listen.
Item 1. Serving warrant on Joseph Smith and travel, $1.25. This represents Joseph Smith's initial arrest on the 19th of March, 1826. Item 2. subpoenaing 12 witnesses and travel, $2.50. 12 witnesses is 5 more than what Neely billed for. It's possible that this number includes the 3 material witnesses that Neely recognized to appear at the Court of Special Sessions, and that some witnesses called to Neely's hearing were not.
Okay, we're going to stop here for a second. The Court of Special Sessions, that's why I said when Joseph was screwed over by Stowell and Thompson with their testimony admitting they paid him to find treasure and that it kept on moving with enchantment, but they still stood behind Smith. That condemned him. He was found guilty. We saw that in the transcript at the very beginning, of this video. We saw it. So, and Neely decided that this was such a special case, and you can go over to Dan Vogel's, it's down the subscription, guys. It's just a simple scholarly historical documentary, unlike what I'm doing here. So as you can hear, he's very dry through it, but he goes into some great details I'm not going into. I'm hoping you guys go over there. So, but Neely called for a second court and put Smith on a bail till the second court was able to be called and the 2 other justices notified and they could get together. Let's go back over. I had to go through that so you guys got a little history here.
Examined. Item 3. Attendance with prisoner, 2 days and 1 night, $1.75. DeZang apparently arrested Smith on the 19th of March, held him overnight, and attended the prisoner during the court on the following day. Item 4. Notifying 2 justices, $1. This is perhaps the clearest indication that Neely had found cause to have Smith tried at a 3-justice court of special sessions.
So yes, Joseph was on bail. I'm going to repeat it again, on bail. So why would DeZang help him escape? He was not exonerated, he was on bail. So DeZang did not help him escape.
Item 5. 10 miles travel with Mittimus to take him, $1. Discussion has centered on the meaning of DeZang's phrase, to take him, in arguing against Walter's earlier interpretation that DeZang took Smith to jail. Madsen observes, the phrase
All right, we're going to stop right here. Let's stop right here and go back right for a second. I just want to get this to start back so we don't miss anything. DeZang had to go get Smith and return him again. Does that sound like he helped him escape? So why would he do that? Just so he could charge the county more money and ruin his reputation? Think on it, guys. Think on it. Come on. Think. Logical, rational thinking. Critical thinking. Like, really. And they expect us to buy this stuff. So they expect us to buy this.
Madsen observes, the phrase to take, then as now, meant to arrest or to capture, hence to take prisoner could more probably mean the act of arresting rather than transporting him somewhere, especially since no somewhere is mentioned.
What do you mean no somewhere is mentioned? We know what court building, the church even knows. They told us the name of the court building. They showed us the location of the court building. If you go to the video down in BYU Journals, in the description, the link is there, you can get accounts of what the building looked like inside. I was going to leave it in there just to show how much they knew about the property, but I didn't want this being too long. It's going to be long, or that I want it. But hey guys, they knew about this building. They knew where it was. They know where he was going back again. He was going to be appearing right before this, in the same place, before 3 people instead of 1. Let's not fool ourselves. Let's not, don't belittle yourselves. Don't let them belittle you. We're not stupid. We're smart. We're critical thinkers, guys. We can think for ourselves. Listen to what they're saying. Then listen to what the, Dan Vogel is, presenting. And he's presenting church history and direct quotes out of a Mormon Apologist and which is paid by the LDS Church's book. So this is LDS's own defense right here. Madsen, did not deny anything whatsoever except for trying to confound you that we have no clue where Joseph Smith was being taken. So we don't know that he was being transported, but he could be arrested. No, you're dancing around the issue and a straw man argument in plain semantics. Semantics. So he was arrested and transported because he took off. He jumped town. He left. So, and he had to be brought back. So he jumped and had to be brought back.
One would expect Madsen to discuss the fact that there are 2 warrants and 2 arrests listed in Dzang's bill, but he fails entirely to acknowledge this issue.
He can't, because the first warrant and the first arrest is for when Neely was going to more than likely, I can't say he was, but he was more than likely going to find Joseph not guilty based off Joseph's testimony. And so, because I will agree, there's nothing Joseph's testimony minus bragging that he had a power of divination. So he just couldn't shut his mouth up and not, brag about that. He had to brag. It took Stowell and Thompson's testimony in front of Neely at the first trial, the first warrant and first arrest, to condemn Joseph, to show that he was guilty of a crime. Hence, he needed to have a 3-court because he thought this was a very special case based off of what was happening, and 2 other justices needed to be brought in. I'm clarifying this. I'm hammering this home, people, so you cannot make excuses for it because these guys are dodging it. So, dodging it. So, we know. So, the second warrant was Joseph jumped bail. He jumped bail. Took off, and Vogel will give his assumption why there was no second prosecution. So, and it's a good hypothesis. So, based off of everything we have. So, we know Joseph jumped bail. We know that Dzang had to go a second time for a warrant delivered and arrest. 2 warrants, 2 arrests. Why does Madsen ignore it? Because if they acknowledge it, then they have to acknowledge everything, and there's no denying and whitewashing it after that.
He also passes over the 10 miles travel. However, he does mention Dzang's charge for notifying 2 justices. What is meant of the Dzang entry notifying 2 justices?
Whoa. He's about to say something here, guys. Listen to this. He's about to say something here that is extremely important and that I just told you. So why doesn't he... Well, hold on. Let's listen.
Frankly, do not know.
Let's go back here. What?
Perhaps
What?
notifying 2 justices. I frankly do not know.
I frankly do not know. How does he not know? And he's the top authority. He is the top scholar on this. Yet, Mr. Vogel knows, who was an LDS and historian and scholar at one point. So still a historian and scholar. I was able to find this out from several other sources. Why is it he doesn't, Mr. Madsen doesn't know? So why is it? I frankly do not know. So, well, we'll find out why he doesn't want to tell you that he knows. He wants to pretend he doesn't know.
Perhaps Dzang confused this case with the earlier 3-justice Court of Special Sessions.
The Court of Special Sessions, that never happened because Joseph jumped bail. The 3-court never got to hold place. So I'm not even going to deny that. It didn't. That's why he never was charged and went to jail on the second account. So first time, yes, and he was charged. He wasn't arrested and jailed for it. He was charged and another trial to be held to find out what his guilt and sentence would be. So it never happened, and Mr. Vogel will give his hypothesis why based off of the evidence all presented around.
Or perhaps Neely first thought the Joseph Smith case needed to be heard by 3 justices and later changed his mind. Well, so much for his interpretation that Neely had found Joseph Smith innocent and discharged him. Madsen
Yeah, it breaks down. It's good. I'm sorry if you're watching this and you're a member and you're an investigator. I'm sorry. How do you reconcile this? How do you harmonize this? So honestly, you let me know how we harmonize this, because I'd be interested to know your opinion. Really, I am. I'm serious.
Madsen's first suggestion can be dismissed since there are no misplaced notifying two justices in Dzang's bill. Madsen's second suggestion begs the following question. If Neely had called for a court of special sessions, as the evidence seems to indicate, why was not one held?
Okay, and if I'm not mistaken, and my clip assembly here, this is the hypothesis coming up. And it all makes sense based off of everything. You tell me if you don't think so. I'm interested. I'm interested in hearing your guys' opinions.
The historical sources suggest a possible answer. Bainbridge resident Abraham W. Benton claimed in 1831.
Okay. Benton. So before we get into this, Benton is one of the people, if you remember when we hit the Hugh Nibley quotes, Benton was one of the people that Nibley said was a liar and made it all up. He said that this was made up. Hugh Nibley. So on behalf of the church, as a church apologist spokesperson for them, so this is the same Abraham William Benton, AWB.
That Smith was condemned, but considering his youth, he then being a minor, and thinking he might reform his conduct, he was designedly allowed to escape. It is unclear.
This is where the church apologists try to say that Dzang, the county sheriff constable who arrested Smith, apologized to him and then helped him escape. There's no mention of apology here, but this is where the mention of escape comes in, and this is in the Mormonites Evangelical Magazine and Gospel Advocate.
Clear if Benton had attended the 1826 proceeding, but in bringing a warrant against Smith on the same charge in July 1830, Benton demonstrated that he was familiar with issues of the first prosecution. Smith even mentions a young man named Benton, who in 1830 swore out the first warrant against me.
Did you hear that? The first warrant against him. Swore out the first warrant against me. The first warrant ever against him was issued by Dzang. We have it on record. So Joseph Smith is telling us Benton was there. So that is why Hugh Nibley is trying to discredit Benton. So because Benton was there. So, and yes, there was a possible release. And I'm not saying there wasn't. I think there was. And I think Vogel has it right. So we're getting close to there.
The first for 1830, that is, as Joseph Smith's acquittal in South Bainbridge was immediately followed by his arrest and trial in Colesville. This time, Smith escaped conviction since the statute of limitations had run out. In an 1842
since the statute of limitations ran out. So remember that. And we're going to find out what those statute of limitations mean, because we're going to find out very quickly a few things here that kind of would make you go, well, if he wasn't guilty, if he wasn't arrested, why, according to, well, you're about to find out why. So I'm not going to lie to you. It's coming. I'm being meticulous, so you guys...
Statement.
Oops. I'm being meticulous because I don't want you guys having any doubt by the end of this video. I don't want you having a rebuttal coming back and say, yes, but you might have been wrong here. This video is going to turn out to be one long-ass video because I'm making sure there's no doubt by the end of it what Joseph Smith's character and reputation is. So...
K. Noble the Colesville justice before whom Smith would appear in 1830, also said Smith had been condemned in 1826, but that whisper came to Joe, off, and so he took leg bail.
So he took leg bail. So he wasn't helped to escape. He wasn't apologized to and helped to escape. So a blind eye was turned, hoping that he would reform at the age of 19 and stop his behavior. That is why Joseph Smith Sr., in the clip that we heard, said he is sorry for the actions of his son. So because he was trying to get leniency from the public eye that he was a young person and could change. So, and this is all going to come round about in the hypothesis coming up. It's coming, I promise you, it's almost there.
Meaning escaped custody. In other words, someone suggested to Smith that he jump bail and leave town. If so, this would explain why a court of special sessions was called, but not held in Smith's case. However, Smith's subsequent return to South Bainbridge, first about November 1826, seeking employment with Stoll, and again in January 1827 to be married by Justice Tarble.
So he had come back again 8 months later, give or take, just after 8 months, from the last trial that he jumped bail on. So we can speculate if it was jump bail. We can speculate it. So doesn't matter either way, is he was supposed to face another trial and he never did because he took off. Whether he jumped bail on his own, whether someone helped him, whether it was Dzang who helped him to play devil's advocate, he jumped bail. So he jumped bail, and after 8 months he returned to the area. So shortly after this, we are going to be finding out about Joseph Smith's similar adventures going up into the hill Palmyra, the hill Cumorah in Palmyra. Not much different than this, and this is why I'm bringing that up too. This all leads up. The first vision and Joseph Smith's claims. So the trial of Joseph Smith for being a trickster, a fraudster, a con artist, and yes, I'm going to call a spade a spade. That's what he was accused of. That's what he was convicted and charged of, and then he was put on bail, not acquitted. Terms, we got to watch terms. He was put on bail while waiting for another trial to convene when he took off, and it never got a chance to happen because by the time he came back, and we'll find out in a second here why he was able to come back and not be arrested, he was no longer able to be prosecuted. And shortly after this, so we start getting into the Book of Mormon discovery. So which, you guys, I'm sorry for that one, but you're going to get shocked out of your pants.
Suggests that there was more involved than Smith's escaping custody. If Smith had escaped custody, would he have returned to South Bainbridge in such an open fashion? Not.
Okay, guys, that is the Mormon apologetic view right here. That's their defense.
Not likely. I would therefore suggest the following scenario.
All right, and this is Dan. This is Dan Vogel, LDS scholar, former LDS scholar and historian, still scholar historian.
Because of the unusual nature of Joseph Smith's case, Neely decided to have it heard by a 3-justice court of special sessions, and recognized Smith and 3 material witnesses to appear at the forthcoming trial. Subsequently, Dzang notified 2 justices and served subpoenas on 3 witnesses, but Joseph Smith did not show.
And the constable eventually helped Joseph escape to safety.
See, they say. And Dzang helped him escape to safety. That's the church's view on it. So I thought we were at the hypothesis part, but this is setting it up.
When Neely learned that Joseph Smith had unlawfully crossed the county line into...
Whoa! When he heard Joseph Smith illegally crossed over the county line. Well, how does he say that Smith illegally jumped the county line when the LDS Church apologists for Bear say that Dzang helped him escape? It's one or the other. So is Dzang lying? Is the church lying? It's not whitewashing. This is a lie. One or the other's lying. So Dzang charged the county for retrieving Smith on this bail jump. So Dzang charged the county to retrieve Smith. So, and was unhappy about it, he reported. Does that sound like someone who helped Smith escape? Not to me.
Colesville, probably from Stoll. Presumably to the home of Joseph Knight, Neely issued a mittimus to have Smith taken into custody and brought back to South Bainbridge. Constable Dzang then traveled 10 miles with mittimus to take him.
So he traveled 10 miles with minimus to take him and bring him back. So South Bainbridge. So we are told by the Mormon apologists, the LDS Apologist, not too long ago, we don't know where Joseph was being brought back to. We're not told. Yes, we are. He's being brought back to South Bainbridge, where he jumped his bond, his bail. So guys, are you listening to this? Are you putting this together? Are you hearing this? So these are all LDS records. I will let you know when it's no longer LDS records and it's a hypothesis. Right now, this is all LDS records or LDS acknowledged. So all of it. So the only difference here is we are hearing the people who had to go arrest Smith, who testified against Smith, and who tried Smith as the judge. We're hearing what they're saying, and it's not the same thing as the church apologists. So why? Why does the church apologist sound similar to the story, but it just doesn't make sense and it's off? Why does what doesn't make sense off happen to be circular arguments that make no rational, logical explanation? Because if they did, and they admitted to this stuff, it's devastating for them. It's harmful for them.
When Smith was returned to South Bainbridge, he changed his plea to guilty, which made the Court of Special Sessions unnecessary, and managed to...
Whoa. He went back and pled guilty. When he went back, he pled guilty, which meant the three, and we're not in speculation yet, which meant so that Joseph was going to not have to appear before the other two justices that were called to sit alongside Neely. So guys, this is where it's going to matter. See, it all comes around. If you've been sticking around and watching this, it all comes around and it makes sense. So I bring you back. So it all matters, because now here it's laid out.
To work out an off-the-record agreement with Neely, and managed to work out an off-the-record agreement with Neely.
So he managed to make an agreement with Neely instead of facing a three-judge system.
Smith had good reason to negotiate, since it was becoming increasingly clear that his defense had no legal basis, and that a formal trial would very likely result in his conviction and possible imprisonment.
You hear that? So because he had Stoll and Thompson admit that he was looking for treasure for money and kept on saying it moved, he was going to face possible imprisonment and be felt guilty and possible imprisonment. So he cut a deal. After he jumped bail and was brought back, he pled guilty quickly and jumped bail. You will find out this is not an uncommon tactic that Joseph has used over the years after this to try to avoid prosecution and persecution for things like this that he did, and then try to claim foul. So he would try to claim foul afterwards and turn it against them. How can you turn this against the people? You conned them. You told them that the treasure kept on moving, that was enchanted. We would not buy that shit today. So we would not buy that today. So people back then did not buy it. Joseph then tried to defend himself. So tried to defend himself, and when that did not work, he ran. This is not the first time he has done that, and you will see this in future episodes. So, and it's not the first time that he has been brought back or coaxed to go back by, members or family. So, far from it. This is a repeat process that he has been known to do from the age of 19 to his death. And he did it right up to his death. That's how he died, and when we get to that story eventually. So it's no different. So Smith, when he went back, copped to a deal knowing that he could probably get a deal and what those conditions were. And these are them.
Smith's youth, being 9 months short of his 21st birthday, may have inclined Neely towards leniency. Besides, although unrepentant, Smith seemed willing to abandon his treasure-seeing career. Smith may have...
Whoa, he seemed willing to abandon it. Less than a year later, he discovers the golden plates on the hill Cumorah. Less than a year later, and I'm not going to get too much into it right now, but by the same processes. So, and even more shocking stories. So, way more shocking than this. So, he did not give it up. He lied to Neely. He continued to do it. And by doing it, he discovered the golden plates on the hill Cumorah in Palmyra.
Also agreed to leave town for a specific length of time. Had a court of special sessions convened in Smith's case, he could have been imprisoned for up to 6 months. In misdemeanor cases involving non-residents of the county, New York statute stipulated that upon payment of the fine and or release from prison, the offender shall be immediately ordered or transported out of the said county to his last place of settlement or abode.
Okay. Sorry, I thought it was 8 months. Sorry, 6 months. So they will be ordered out of the town where they were found guilty or committed the crime, and they are not to return within a 6-month period. So, and we'll find out what happens.
If known, and if any person so ordered or transported shall remain in said county for 48 hours, or return thereunto within 6 calendar months after such order or transportation, he shall again be fined as aforesaid, or confined as aforesaid.
So, what they are saying, and this falls perfectly in the timelines of when Joseph returns. So, there's nothing here that's out of the ordinary. So, Joseph made a plea bargain. He agreed not to come back within the statute of limitations of 6 months. So when we get the next record of Joseph in the area, which is for employment with Stowell, when he comes back, it's after 6 months. It's after 6-month period. So yes, he left and stayed out for the time period, or he could have gone and faced trial again and gone to jail this time. So the second time he comes back, when he marries Emma Hale, so it's after a 6-month period, after he is okay to come back and not worry about being rearrested and re-prosecuted and possibly going to jail. So that is why, and the church officials use that as a defense. So the church authority, the fair organization, which is the paid apologetic branch of the LDS Church, use this as a defense. We saw it. They said, if he returned twice and unarrested, why would he be able to return? Why would he return if he was going to be found guilty? If he was found guilty, why did he return those 2 times? And they give the 2 reasons: to work for Stowell and to marry Emma Hale. So Emma Smith, his wife. So because he was able to go back, because he stayed out for the duration of period that is stipulated right here, shall be transported and remain in the said county for 48 hours if they don't leave, or they're found in the county still 48 hours later. So, or return herethrough within 6 months. 6 months. So they're saying right there, if they don't leave right away, if they're found after 2 days of being told to get out, or they come back within 6 months of being kicked out, so he shall be again fined as said, or confined as aforesaid, which means he will be gone to court again and charged. So whether it's a fine or jail is up to the judge. So Joseph Smith did not come back till after a 6-month period to try to work for Stoll again and then to marry Emma Hale. So that is why.
Neely may have insisted that his non-resident defendant leave town for the stipulated time. Thus, when Smith returned to South Bainbridge 8 months later, there was no worry of arrest.
See? Oh, crap. See, there was no worry of arrest because it was 8 months later. Not 6 months. He waited 2 extra months later before he came back. So he had no worry of aforesaid trial or aforesaid jail time or fine. He was now legally able to come back. And that is why Joseph Smith never went to jail. That is why Joseph Smith was not charged and found guilty. Like the church states, they are not wrong. But they whitewashed the whole reason. And now you have seen the reason. I'm not going to keep on going on. I think this video speaks for itself. I think you guys are able to make your own educated decision. I think you guys know what is. So I am not here to try to bring down the members. I am not trying to destroy members' testimonies. I am trying to make you guys educated and the history transparent. So not hidden, not whitewashed, transparent. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got something out of it. And when I say enjoy, I hope it kept you guys watching and you guys got something out of this. And that you are able to come to a decision that you know is correct. I'm not going to try to persuade you. The decision is yours. The information's here. The decision's yours. So the next episode will be number 3. And we will be focusing on Joseph Smith's vision of the angel Moroni and his discovery of the golden plates before he takes off, up to when he takes off out of upstate New York for the final time. So until then, this was the Atheist Apostate with the trial of Joseph Smith, episode 2 of True Mormon Stories. This is the Atheist Apostate, BAA, saying good night, good day, wherever you guys are, and have a great one. See you later.